Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Teresa. I'm going to be your platform leader today.
Yay!
Yay! I'd like to welcome you to Unity in the Heart of Austin here at Casa de Luz, and I want to say hi to everyone there on Zoom as well. We're so grateful that you're here and being with us this morning. So, our lesson today, we have the dynamic duo, the Lorraines, Tammy and Jonnie, who are going they're going to be doing our white stone ceremony for us today. And our musician today, we got a treat today. We have the Love Choir along with our own Leanne Atherton. Yay! And I'm going to ask that Jonnie and or Tammy or both come up and lead us in a prayer this morning.
All right. As you close your outer eyes, I invite you to feel the hand to your left, the hand to your right, and then drop into your own individualized expression of the one life. Drop into your heart space and feel the love that is in this room and the love that is in the room of everyone joining us on Zoom. We know that in love there is no time or space, so all of you on Zoom are right here with us. For that we are grateful. We're grateful for the opportunity to be of service today, to tune in and tap into divine wisdom as it speaks to each and every one of us here today, with that word that will call us forward into greater expansion, into greater expressions of love and of peace and of joy. We're grateful for Unity in the Heart of Austin and all of the individuals who make that up as a body of love, serving the world, serving Austin. Breathe into your own heart. Feel your connection with all of life. It's in that connection that we are deeply grateful, God, for this opportunity to be one together today and to see how that moves each of us individually and collectively throughout this year. We are grateful. For this and all things, we are grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Tammy. And now we're going to have our opening song by Leanne Atherton.
We'll all sing and then we get to greet our neighbors. Now, how does it go? Well, I'm glad you're here. So glad you're here. The fellowship is sweeter just knowing you're near. It's so good to see you. I hope that is clear. Everyone loves you. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. The fellowship is sweeter just knowing you're near. It's so good to see you. I hope that it's clear. Everyone loves you. We're so glad you're here. Everyone loves you. We're so glad you're here.
We have lots of people here today, so we got to make it around. Okay, I know y'all are having a great time out there. So now we get to gather for our affirmations. We use affirmations as a tool to create our reality. So we're going to first affirm our prosperity, our affirmation for positive prayer. We're going to say this together.
God is my instant, constant, abundant source of supply. I am blessed with health, wealth, happiness, wisdom, love, and success.
Yes. Amen. All right. Now let's affirm our vision for our spiritual community. We're going to say this together.
With our thoughts, words, and actions, we make a powerful and positive difference in Austin, Texas, and in our world.
Okay. Now.
Kind friends all gathered round.
there's something I would say. What brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to
Thank you, Love Choir.
For those of you who weren't here last week, I outed myself as a dork who puts funny things on Facebook every Sunday. So I got that going on, and I'm just gonna do today's Happy Sunday Facebook post. So when God came and took all the dinosaurs to heaven, that was called the Velociraptor. Okay. Here in Unity, we don't do the rapture just quite like that. And today, since we're talking about the white stone, we are talking about one of those sticky, itchy little verses from Revelations. And we don't usually go into Revelations, so we could do 2 or 3 or 4 weeks on why we don't go into Revelations and how odd that book of the Bible is. But nonetheless, the idea, those of us who know, so the idea for the white stone ceremony, though, does come from Revelations, is Revelations chapter 2, verse 17. And it doesn't get a lot of focus, right? Let's face it, because it's weird. It's just Revelations is kind of weird. But we have incorporated this particular verse into Unity messages around the world in the month of January to facilitate an experience of God's calling. And the verse goes like this: let anyone who has an ear to listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give some hidden manna, and I will give a white stone, and on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it. So is anybody new to the white stone ceremony here? Okay, great. So we're going to look at a little bit of the metaphysical meaning of that passage today. For many of us who have done this before, we're just getting a refresher course, but hopefully Tammy and I today have brought you a little twist on it so that we can feel refreshed about it and renewed as we go into 2023. So again, so let's take a look at some of this metaphysical meaning of the passage. First off, let anyone who has an ear to listen. Now this refers in Unity to our receptivity. We must be open to hear it, and that means, unfortunately, especially since we're a little further into the January month here, that if you think you already know what your word for the year is, you'll have to let that go. We're going to invite you to that. This is a listening activity. It's a receptivity activity, and it's not a mental thinking activity. So it's not something that you make a decision about. Later, you'll learn why we have determined that it's not a decision that you make. So secondly, what Spirit is saying to the churches. Now, church metaphysically represents consciousness. Consciousness isn't a building or a collection of people. It's a collective consciousness or your individual consciousness. That is, how is Spirit speaking to your consciousness, or in this case, the consciousness of Unity in the Heart of Austin as a collective. So how might it be speaking to us individually and as a group? So then we have to everyone who conquers. So this isn't about conquering another, but conquering here in Unity metaphysically, it's conquering our little selves, our egos, those parts of us that are wrapped up in the world of senses. So it's that part of us that buys into our collective ideas of lack or division. So the music this week has been really great toward creating a sense of releasing those thoughts of division and lack. So when we conquer that part of us, we can receive the hidden manna and that bread of life and the nourishment from source, and then we receive that new name. Now, name refers to a divine calling or intention or purpose, and that can become our lodestar to guide us through the new year. So the white stone simply represents for us a blank slate or a new beginning. And this is why Unity does that burning bowl at the end of the year, so we can begin the new year with a blank slate. Today, since we're a little later in the month, we'll invite you in the meditation to release anything that's occurred over the last 3 weeks as well. So coming into this new year that way. So we can let go of the old in order to create space for the new. So lots of information, but fortunately, many of you have received this before. So that's what we're sitting in today. And the affirmation for today and this experience is, I step into this new year with a joyful heart. Knowing God is my source, I co-create the life of my boundless dreams. I'm going to invite you for a minute to sit in that.
Can you read it?
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead, sit in it. Gonna do that. I step into this new year with a joyful heart. I step into this new year with a joyful heart. Knowing God is my source, I co-create the life of my boundless dreams. Knowing God is my source, I co-create the life of my boundless dreams. While you're still in that, let's just repeat it after me. I step into this new year with a joyful heart.
I step into this new year with a joyful heart.
Knowing God is my source,
Knowing God is my source,
I co-create the life of my boundless dreams.
I co-create the life of my boundless dreams.
Yes. Yes. So this year, Tammy and I were called to explore and share with you the idea that our words are spiritual gifts, or that metaphysical definition of name as a divine calling or an intention or a purpose. And I'll get a little theologically geeky with you this morning, and this is my part in the service. So in Greek, charisma means favor or gift. So Webster defines charisma. It's a noun. It is a personal magic of leadership arousing special popular loyalty or enthusiasm for a public figure, such as a political leader. They use that example. His success was largely due to his charisma. The second definition is a special magnetic charm or appeal, the charisma of a popular actor. So Webster also notes, this is the great part for us this morning, the Greek word charisma means favor or gift. It comes from the verb charizestai, to favor, which in turn comes from the noun charis, meaning grace. Now in English, charisma was originally used in Christian contexts, or those geeks in theological classes, in Christian context to refer to a gift or a power that is bestowed upon an individual by the Holy Spirit for the good of this church. So that's very rare now. So what we're inviting us all in on considering our word as that special gift of grace from God to bestow upon everyone else in your life. You know, these days we use the word to refer to social rather than divine grace. So for instance, a leader with charisma can gain positive popular support, and the job applicant has great charisma and shines in an interview, for instance. But what if our Whitestone words were given to us as those gifts of divine grace, and we were meant to use them for others? What if we took that into the new year as well? So Reverend Jane Patterson, who was a professor of mine at seminary, says this: God uses absolutely everything about us, our callings, as a way of drawing into the fullness of our creation. God uses everything about us in our callings as a way of drawing into the fullness of our creation. And only God knows us fully. Even we ourselves do not know ourselves completely. There's a transcendent dimension to the self. Now, in unity, we consider that the superconscious. We have the sub, the consciousness, and the superconscious. So that transcendent dimension for us is that superconsciousness. Now, charism, she goes on, is a gift that is graciously given. Now, it's big in Paul's teachings about spiritual gifts. Paul stresses that the gifts of the Spirit are gifts of God's grace, and these spiritual grace gifts aren't developed through natural talent, but instead bestowed upon us by God. And James says this about it: a charism is the power of God flowing into the world for fullness and life. So, in short, we could say charism comes from the Greek word charis, which means grace. God's grace flows to all of us, and in turn, we channel God's grace as our gift to others. So a couple of bullet points today about grace that I take from Jane's work as well. So God calls the creation to participate in God's mission, the flourishing of all and the reconciliation of all aspects of the creation to one another and to God. Want me to get that again? So, okay, all right. So God calls the creation to participate in God's mission, the flourishing of all of us, and the reconciliation of all aspects of the creation to one another and to God. 2, when we discern and respond to God's callings, we come into fullness of life at the same time that our life serves others in their flourishing. So we've heard this said in unity. If it's good for you, it is good for someone else. So we're all one, and it includes your goodness being good for others as well. So vocation, Jane puts it, but in this case, your word. So your word that you may get today is part of the generous economy of God. It is not a zero-sum game. The flourishing of any part of the creation spills over in life for the others. And finally, grace is the power of God that circulates through our callings, through your word. It will circulate through your word, moving through us and beyond us. So today, we're inviting you to consider your word as a God-given gift that you can offer to the world, that blessing that comes through you that you can offer to the world. And we're inviting you to see that white stone word today, not just as I often have, not just as that theme for your personal life, although that's great and that will flow out to others, or as a way to engage in self-improvement. I've done that many years as well, though that is effective too. But really is beyond that. What is this spiritual gift that you have that can contribute to those around you, that is bestowed upon you, your gift from God, for the good given to you to contribute to others? And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tammy, who probably has more interesting things to say. I'm kind of the head, she's the heart, right, today. So she's going to get into a little Emily Katie and how we activate those spiritual gifts.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. So when it comes to activating our spiritual gifts, it's important to remember that we come baked in with all of the spiritual gifts in their fullness, not necessarily in the manifest world, but in potential. I don't personally believe that only certain people have the capacity for the gift of prophecy, for example, or foresight or healing. We all have that potential, but I do believe that our higher selves know which gift is needed in any moment to pour through us. And by moment, I mean a season or perhaps a lifetime. So your essence, your soul, knows if a particular gift is needed. You may come into this lifetime and never need the gift of prophecy, or the fullness of life may not need it to come through you. It's chosen to come through someone else. I hope that makes sense. Spirit, the infinite intelligence
intelligence of the universe knows which gifts are needed, and it is our job to listen and to respond to the calling. So Emily Cady, Joni mentioned who was going to talk about her. I love Emily Cady, the book Lessons in Truth, if you haven't read it. She has an entire chapter on spiritual gifts. Now, I think she wrote this chapter at a time when New Thought was enamored with the gift of healing, because her whole point is about how when that gift starts to go away, you tap into other gifts. And it makes sense that she was writing about healing at that time as the spiritual gift that everyone was focused on. You have Christian Science that was born out of focusing on Jesus's ability to heal and that living within all of us and our own ability to heal. And you have the entire unity movement that's built on healing. Myrtle Fillmore attending a lecture by E.B. Weeks hears, "You are a child of God and therefore you do not inherit illness, sickness." And she healed herself. So Emily approaches this chapter from the standpoint that healing isn't just one of the spiritual gifts, which we all know. And when if that gift begins to diminish, we should not cling. And that's true of any of our gifts. She writes, "Be assured, no matter what anyone says to you or thinks, that the seeming failure does not mean a loss of power. It means that you are to let go of the lesser in order that you may grasp the whole in which the lesser is included. Do not fear for a moment to let go of just one branch of divine power." So as you lean into your white stone word, Spirit may nudge you to let go of certain branches and pick up new ones. And I believe that that will require some radical self-honesty to determine if it's truly Spirit nudging you to let go, or if you're merely resisting stepping into something new or fulfilling a power or a gift that you've received. Because let's be honest, there are so many excuses that we come up with, fears, dragging of our feet. Anybody drag your feet when it comes to learning a new life skill? I know I do. I mean, let's face it, if sitting under a Bodhi tree were all that it took to reach enlightenment, there would be a lot of lines at the Bodhi trees. And people would be ascending every day. But usually it's the day-to-day work, right, that we have to do. And that requires us to look at our resistances and see if it's a resistance that's getting in the way of us activating our spiritual gifts. And I'm drawing from this amazing book, Letting Go, by Dr. David Hawkins. He has an entire process for when we tap into our resistances, what we're doing is we're identifying with fears or anger or pride, because we don't want to be embarrassed, because when we step into a new skill, we may show up messy, right? It may not look great. And so his process is really about feeling the feelings. Usually a thought will get you there, but then you let go of all the thoughts. And if we just sit with our feelings, there's energy that's been building up that we haven't allowed to move. And so the process is to just sit with our feelings, don't resist them. It's pretty counter to kind of new thought in some ways. But what we'll find is that the energy shifts. We all know this from any experience of grief where we just sit and we sob. After 20 minutes or so, usually we feel better. It's the same with all the rest of the resistances that we have to stepping into our flourishing. So he gives a great example of apathy, which typically shows up as, I can't. So you receive your word and the first thing you might say is, I can't do that. That's too much, God. So if we shift, really what we'll find underneath that I can't, is just I won't. Like I'm unwilling to, because I'm afraid, or I might look silly, or I just don't want to put in the time and the effort that's necessary to do the work
And so if we can really be honest with ourselves about that, then we can start to process that out and be able to show up and serve the word that we've received, that we're called to. And even if, he talks about this, and I think it's beautiful, even if you shift from I can't to I won't, and you still decide you won't, you've made a huge leap. Like, it's okay to just be like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that work. I'm choosing not to. But it's a choice. Whereas I can't is self-defeating. And so just by acknowledging that, no, I won't, you have leapt forward in consciousness tremendously. And you've liberated power that you can then use in other ways. So I can't recommend this book enough. I just think it's fabulous. So Emily, though, I'm going to turn back to Emily now. She offers us some encouraging words. She says, why should we so fear to abandon ourselves to the workings of infinite love and wisdom? So maybe once you hit that I won't, you can say to yourself, why should I fear to abandon myself to the workings of infinite love and wisdom? And then when we drop into that, when we know that we're held so fully and completely by love and wisdom, it shores us up. We know that we're supported in how we are called to move in the world. You're supported here by your community, but we're also supported by the infinite love and intelligence of the universe, which is showing up through each of us. That's why we're encouraging you to see your word as a way of being of service to others, because then you know everybody else has a word that's of service to you. And together, collectively, the consciousness supports all of our flourishing. Let's see, where was I? If it's meant, so that's why, coming back to what Joni said earlier, we're encouraging you to let go of a word if you've already kind of like, I've got my word, this is what I want this year, I'm going to choose it. Because if it's meant to be your word, it'll come back to you. So take a moment to shake it off. If you have a word, just shake it off and trust. Emily goes on to say, you are a vessel for some purpose. If when the time comes, you let go cheerfully without humiliation or shame or sense of failure, your tense, rigid, mortal grasp on some particular form of manifestation, letting go of that word, saying, well, I'm supposed to be doing this. If you, as in 1 Corinthians, it says, strive for the greater gifts, open to the fullness, whatever they may be in your individual case, you will do works in one specific direction that will be simply marvelous in the eyes of men and women and non-binary people. She does not say that, but I say that. These works will be done without effort on your part, because they will be God, omnipotence, omniscience, manifesting itself through you in its chosen direction. So later, as we move into the white stone process, which will come after the meditation song, we invite you to really let go and to listen and trust and know that it is God, omnipotence, omniscience, manifesting through you. God bless you. Thank you.
We go a little longer than usual today for the meditation so that you have a chance to experience the release of all that noise in the physical and move into an experience of the sublime. And first off, to quell any of those concerns or issues you might have around, gosh, what if my word doesn't come to me? That's okay today too. The Spirit knows where you are. The Holy knows when to get in touch with you. We always have a divine line. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be still. Be still. Be. Be. And sit in that quiet awareness, allowing all those thoughts you may still be having float by you like the clouds. You're the mountain. Lots of clouds. And as we go into the silence, we'll spend several minutes there today in contemplation, allowing our hearts to open and our minds to still, in an open-hearted reception of what that spiritual gift is that God would have us express as God in this year. And if you have been given your word in the last few moments, I encourage you to move yourself out of the meditation and go ahead and jot that down. This last minute here or so, work our way into consciousness, into awareness, bring ourselves back into the room. Feel those beautiful feet, that gorgeous body of yours. And if you have not received your word, I encourage you to be gentle and sweet and loving on yourself, and especially loving and sweet and gentle on that spirit within you that will show up later. And so it is.
And you can see up on the screen our ways of giving. You can go to 44321 on your text and put in G2UHA. You can give at our website, unityheartofaustin.com, or you can send it by snail mail, and we'll get that too.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, in oneness all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each
eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Amen.